Hey everyone, welcome back to more Flesh and Bad, and today we have a very exciting departure, I guess, from our normal content schedule. So instead of playing Marlin, we're actually going to be playing some Valda today. So Valda, I think, is one of my arch nemesis or arch nemesis of Fab. Probably the deck that I like to play the least against as Marlin because she has a lot of really good equity with on hits and stuff. But this version of the deck's actually like a little bit different, I think, than the kind of standard version of Valda. So this deck is playing basically 9 copies of these 6 for 10 Heave 2 Crush cards. Now, these cards are not like all that crazy in and of themselves, but they do have like a very interesting kind of engine to make the deck work. Basically, you can like use Tectonic Plating or the ley line of the old ones plus like some Seismic Surges, so you basically like kind of always guarantee the dominate, which is really kind of cool. So yeah, this deck is running like 9 copies of that, which are kind of interesting. Like they're not like on hits in and of themselves, but they're just like really good, efficient numbers, which is kind of very exciting. And we also have like a little bit of a fridge to work with as well. So nice to have a little blocking suite of armor as well. But yeah, I'm excited to play some Valda today, and special shout out to Rob for giving me the Valda list. Yeah, I consider Rob to be kind of the Jarl Valda expert, so he knows a lot more about this deck than me. So if you want to go kind of see some more Valda or Jarl content, go feel free to check out Rob's channel as well. Yeah, but the sideboard here seems really simple. It looks like it's just some kind of equipment and sideboard tech for the Gravy matchup. So should be interesting to kind of give this deck a shot. Seems like it's a pretty powerful deck. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the games. All right, starting off strong with a Gravy. So I think we probably want to go first in this matchup. Let's go ahead and bring in our Balance. And looks like Batter to a Pulps and our Midas Touch. I don't actually know what we want to cut in this matchup. I feel like Pummel is such a strong card that I kind of just want to like run it baseline, but maybe we just cut like one of these like random heave cards. We could do like 63 or something. I don't hate that. But might actually be like too much. We also got Sync, but I think Sync's also pretty strong. Let's go ahead and run it 63 and see if that ends up being right. Again, I'm not entirely sure like what you're necessarily supposed to cut in this matchup. Let me go ahead and set this to streamer mode as well. Oh, my playmat's gone. Oh no. It logged me out. That's fine. Okay, how do we want to start off this game? So more likely than not, I think I'm just like wanting to probably just try to heave here. Pitch the Roiling Fisher. May just set up the smithing in Arsenal. Notably, our opponent does have quick dodge here, not base of the mountain, so we can actually kind of attack with Titan's Fist kind of with impunity here. So I think I don't mind just like sending a little bit of damage. But I think this is like not actually that bad of a start. We get to start the game with 3 Seismic, set up the smithing in Arsenal. Can I just go from there? They're going to give us 1 card here. Sure. So now we get to go ahead and heave this, save the Tectonic in case we just need a blue or whatever for next turn. But pretty good start. Now, that being said, they have a really good start of their own in the form of the Loan Shark here. So getting their gold generation going early is a bit scary. That being said, we do have like the kind of passive ability from Valda to make a Seismic whenever our opponent draws a card. So should actually be quite good. Or draw a card during the action phase. So it doesn't really count like drawing up or whatever. Any draw card effects, basically. Kind of imagine they're gonna just tutor for a chum or something here, but looks like they're gonna go for the Sawbones here instead. Makes sense to me. So now we have the question of whether or not we want to just like take a turn off to kind of deal with the Sawbones, which I think is like reasonable. We could even like Tectonic ourselves because we're not going to end up playing the smithing this turn. Maybe do something like this and just like draw a card. Maybe send this on Hammer. Something like this. We could keep the disable if we wanted to. Don't know if that's wrong necessarily. Because that would enable us to kind of play around like Fearless Confrontation or whatever, which is also a very strong card into us. So we go and give them like the Promising Trade here. I would like to keep Promising Trade as like maybe a card that we like play out this turn, but I think guaranteeing the ability to play around Fearless maybe is reasonable. But I do kind of like the idea of just bottoming our arsenal here since we just want to send Titan's Fist anyways. Oh, we draw another Promising Train. That's actually pretty good for us, I think. So I guess we want to like save that, right? Because I guess it like draws us a card and gains us a life. Maybe it's not actually that bad if we play it out now. We just don't get the kind of like front effect. If I would create a bunch of seismics, then maybe it's bad. But I think I'm actually gonna try to arsenal it here. Go ahead and just take care of the sawbones for now. And maybe we can set this up as kind of like something to do on our next turn. Oh, we do have our solid ground fully online as well, which is very exciting. So lots of good options for us, I think, here on the next turn. Again, I don't think my goal is to try to fatigue in this matchup, but I think it is an option that you can kind of take sometimes. All right, they're going to hook this as well. So it might be time to just give up a little bit of armor here. Kind of question is what is the follow-up? We do actually have a pretty decent rouse turn as well if we want to try to go for that, like rouse into reveal both of these, kill the chum, maybe send something face. So I think I like the idea of maybe just trying to cash in a little bit of the equipment here, like maybe these basalt boots and also the balance. I think Testament we kind of want to try to save ideally for the +4 mode, although this card's pretty flexible in general. So kind of hoping that they don't have like a disruptive follow-up here. Oh wow, pass is very, very good for us. Kind of curious to see if they want to chum here even. But I think I like the idea of just like pitching the Rouse the Ancients, or just like taking care of this chum with Rouse the Ancients, just so we can kind of go face on the other end. Maybe either sending a Spinal Crush or a Boulder Drop. I'm actually not sure which one's more correct here. So if we set, if we want to play out the Promising Terrain, we can actually pitch to the Tectonic Plane, make 2 Seismics for next turn, and then just send Boulder Drop face. But the question is whether or not Spinal is like more annoying for them to deal with. Maybe Spinal is just like more annoying. We could also just like end the turn on no Seismics, which I think is fine, because we might be ending up like hammering an ally this turn and then maybe just taking a setup or whatever. So I think Spinal should be like more disruptive towards them maybe than the Boulder Drop, but it's kind of hard to tell. Like the Dominate here might end up being like pretty brutal, or it might just like end up buying armor, which then progresses the game plan even further, which is kind of cool. Okay, not a bad hand here with the Midas Touch as well. Although that being said, Conqueror is a little scary, but the Spinal Crush is kind of taking care of at least the Gogan portion of that. So since there's no ally out, I think I'm like more likely than not just kind of blocking here. Could even give like more cards. The thought of like pitching a card to just like Tectonic Plating is not super appealing to me, but it is like a possibility here. Kind of like the idea of just like hammering them, maybe. Just send 4. Take a little bit of an off turn, but kind of force them to try to do something on the next turn, I think seems okay. Don't think there's like anything that the hand necessarily does, even if we are able to keep like 2 cards here. So I think I like the idea of just like Titan's Fist and then just holding on to this Promising Terrain for when we do find a turn where we kind of want to like take an off turn, make a few seismics, and then kind of try to take the aggressive line, I guess. Oh, Leyline is a nice draw here. That will be very good for us. All right, looks like they're going to start off with a Seafloor to maybe get this Scuba online as well. The nice part is these effects like Tipple and stuff, if they do end up discarding, then we do make a Seismic as well, which is potentially useful. Though maybe not on this next hand necessarily. Let's go ahead and just say no blocks. We do have the Sink Blow for a little bit of coverage here if they decide to play out either one of the Scuba or the Chum, so should be pretty insulated that way. Playing out the Chum is definitely annoying, and we have 2 Whaler Humperdinks in the bin, so that maybe suggests that this matchup tends to be a little bit more aggro, or like more fatiguey than I think I maybe initially kind of guessed. All right, so coming in for 4, we could give them armor here, or alternatively, because I want to try to take care of this chum maybe with the put them in their place. The question is whether or not that's like worth it though. Kind of feels like it's worth it though. We want to like play out the ley line. It's the only issue. Interesting puzzle hand. Like maybe we don't even want to play out the sink below. Like maybe better. What's a better play? Like sink below, try to sink the put him into place for something like more relevant to kill chum, or maybe just something like play out the cranial. A lot of decent options here. I give them a thinking. I think we're just gonna try to sink below this. This doesn't really feel like a spot where like armor is particularly impactful when we have the sink below. We might not be able to kill chum this turn, but we can at least make a lot of seismics and then try to deal with chum on like a later turn, which I think seems fine. So let's go ahead and try to sink, and I think I'm actually going to try to sink this, put them in their place for something just like a little bit more impactful. So pummel, I think, is actually not the worst draw here, because we can still like arsenal the pummel maybe for next turn, try to send a big attack at them, maybe just ignore chum for a little bit. That being said, chum is kind of hard to ignore, especially with the actually hold on, not that one yet. We're gonna play the we'll play this one first. So we play out the promising terrain first, just so that we can double the ley line here. So you get 2 seismics, and then this only triggers whenever we deal damage. So this means that the Titan's Fist is presenting potentially up to 2 seismics here, which is pretty scary. So they might be pretty incentivized to at least give us a card here plus hook. So even if we're not dealing with the chum this turn, it should make them kind of want to give us. Okay, they are going to just give us the seismics. That's kind of crazy. So now we have like a really good play lined up where if we like can keep like a blue plus the spinal here, we can potentially get a lot of good damage on them. That being said, they do have the chum, so maybe they can discard before that's really relevant, but it should still be fine. We at least get to kind of threaten it, and maybe just even hold on to the pummel anyways. All right, that being said, Gravy is starting to get a little bit of bigger kind of board dominance here. But we do have sink below, which is a nice answer to at least kind of stymie the flow of gold here. So let's go ahead and just give them the sink. And then I think I'm sending this spinal face unless they say otherwise. But I just want to try to be a bit aggressive in this matchup. Kind of just make them work for it. All right, they will go ahead and chum here for rigor mortis, so we do have to unfortunately clear the chum this turn, but that's actually not that bad. Question is, can we do anything funky with these imposing visages? Because we do need to play out the spinal this turn. We're probably going to like end up tech plating. So we have 4 here plus 1 here, so we can do a imposing visage, I think, for 2, if I'm not, or it would have to be for total 2. Which I don't know if that's, or okay, so we imposing do this, so we can get like a promising terrain or something. We get promising terrain, then we like pitch the eruption here to make the seismics, and then we send spinal at chum, which then lets us potentially draw a card if they want to crack gold next turn. This is an interesting line. I don't know if I'm overthinking this. Maybe I am. But like it also leaves like the eruption in the deck, which seems like a pretty decent threat to kind of have in the late game, just to have like kind of dominate. All right, we'll get our last promising terrain here. Pitch to make a seismic. So this will make, I believe, 2 seismics, right? And then we can send the spinal here. Seems good. The alternative option was we could have just played out the eruption and gone to 4 seismics, but then this gives us 4 seismics anyways. I don't know. Weird to think about. I forgot that leyline also just like triggers on allies, so that even gives us the 4 seismics anyways. So I think I made the right play. I just didn't. I made the right play for the wrong reasons, I guess. Okay, there's the 3rd chum out of the way. Hopefully, chum is definitely probably one of the more annoying cards in this matchup, but we can deal with it still. or at least like forcing them to discard, which I think is impactful because it means they're not using like their allies made for stuff like Tipple or whatever, and they're not really like doing anything in kind of addition to the chum here, which is kind of nice. So I think what we can do, what is surface shaking? When centers create 3 seismics. Can maybe just like give them tectonics to, like they're not even hooking this, so it doesn't really feel like we have to necessarily take a break from like taking off turns. They're probably gonna activate chum again, and then this will be the last chum that we have to deal with, assuming that they do end up playing it out here. But if they don't end up playing it out, then I'm a little bit more tempted to maybe try to go more aggressive. So I'll play out the surface shaking, which I think is a card you generally like don't want to play out. And the only downside here is we don't get to pummel this turn. But we do get like the filtering out of it at the beginning of our action phase. We get to like kind of filter some cards and make seismics. So it's pretty good. And then we can use tech plating here and then boulder drop the chum and just kind of like get it out of the way. I think that seems smart. So now we're going to like 5 seismics, plus we get some maybe even additional seismics next turn. And I feel like normally you're like not supposed to like play out this card unless it's like turn 1 or something, but like they only sent like 4 damage at us, so I'm like, I don't know if I necessarily care, you know. Ooh, Batter to a Pulp is a good card. Batter to a Pulp, double pummel. Okay, maybe I am kind of intrigued by this deck. Ooh, that being said, they do have a Conqueror here, which is very scary. So currently our shield is at +3, so it's currently at 3. So we could give just like all of our armor here. Keep this kind of nutty hand. I think I like this, just trying to go for like the double palm play, because I think we do just need to like eventually kind of pivot towards going face. Okay, and then they're going to play out, just attack with the scuba here. Okay, but looks like they didn't maybe even have any targets for it, other than maybe like an ally, which they probably don't want to do. All right, so we're going to try to blow up that compass and try to make their life a little bit harder here. So currently we have 6 resources in hand. We get 5 resources here. Do we even want to filter anything? Probably not, right? We can filter like 1 card, but that has the chance of like ruining us potentially. Maybe like 1 card filter is like fine. Or we can even do like a 2 card filter and just try to like redraw into a blue or like 2 blues. And then if we don't, how bad is that for us? Then we just do like a single pummel, and maybe that's still like enough to get there. But let's go a little bit greedy in this matchup. So we drew at least 1 blue, so we can still kind of take the same line here. Or a similar line. We can't double pummel, unfortunately. Maybe that was the anti-content play. Unfortunate. But I think we can still like make a seismic here and then just pummel the Batter to a Pulp anyways. I don't know if they can deal with 14. I guess we're about to find out, but feels like that might be actually kind of challenging for them to deal with. This is also why I think you're not supposed to like fatigue in this matchup. It feels like it's better to just like kind of go face. 14 seems pretty good, but will it be enough, I guess is the question. They could also have like D-React in Arsenal or something. There are ways out of this, I think. All right, we do get an extra seismic here as well, so let's go for the pummel. I'm gonna use the Arsenal pummel just in case they're not aware. All right, but looks like they did have a blood on the water. Maybe they're gonna stop the crush here with the actual quick dodge flexors. I know they can't still cover it with those. Oh, double blood on the water. Okay, sure. It still does have the on-hit discard though, unless they want to quick dodge again, which maybe they do. Still pretty happy to at least get a card off of them, but maybe the less greedy line was to go for the double pummel and just try to like make sure the compass dies. I think that's also reasonable. Oh, we do hit them with the pummel. That's very good. Okay, so this still ends up being like good for us, even though I think maybe I took a little bit too greedy of a line on the surface shaking. Yeah, I think in hindsight it's probably better to just try to double pummel. That being said, I guess we have another Batter to a Pulp here, so maybe it's not actually that bad. All right, what yellow are they going to give us here? They're going to turn over their own rigor mortis, which seems really good for us. So I think we do actually want to eruption this turn. I think we're just going to say no blocks here. They already have as much gold as they can like kind of possibly want, so I don't think giving them more necessarily hurts. That being said, 8 gold is like a little scary. But let's go into eruption on end. Because what this allows us to do is actually send the battering bolt and also, or the batter to a pulp, not the battering bolt. Allows us to send this and then also make a seismic on our turn, which is really strong. So we got another batter to a pulp pummel play coming in for 14 as well. Now they extra need some other D-react or something that's going to let them block this, but they've already used a lot of their armor, so blowing up Compass seems likely at this point. Feels like we've got a pretty decent lead here, although that being said, 8 gold is scary, but I think it's a little bit less scary when you're playing Valda. Maybe it isn't maybe it is still scary, but like I don't know. We at least get like a benefit out of it, which is kind of nice. All right, second pummel should do some work here though. Okay, so we get the batter of the pulp, we get the pummel, excellent. Everything lining up very, very well for us. We got our gravy opponent to 11 here. I think they're expecting more of like a fatigue plan, but it kind of feels like we're just kind of beating them up at this point. Which is my impression. Like that was my initial thought in the matchup. Is like I think this is probably like more of like a beat 'em up style matchup than a like a fatigue matchup. But I feel like we can go both ways with it maybe. All right, they are cracking a lot of gold here. But we still just have like so much value in our hand. All right, it seems like they're going to maybe give it up on the back of finding an Oasis Respite on the top, which doesn't even seem like it's that good to us, but I don't know. Maybe it's fine. All right, but yeah, they were kind of like on more of a full fatigue plan, which I don't think is like necessarily what you want to do into Valda. Maybe it is good, maybe it's not. I don't know. I haven't played the matchup, but it seems like this is a matchup where I want to try to be a little bit more aggressive, and the gravy has to kind of like kill me before they can kind of get to that point. So pretty good showing, at least for Valda. Maybe this is also just like a cursed matchup for Gravy. I don't know. It feels like it's maybe not that bad, but pretty strong showing, at least for the Valda list. Let's go ahead and see if we can grab another one here. All right, so we get to play against a Hala here, so I have no idea what this matchup is going to be like, but let's go ahead. I think we just like always want to go first, or most often want to go first. I feel like this is a matchup where maybe the overcrowdeds could potentially be relevant. But I don't know if they're like necessarily like we could just do like sub them out over the surface shakings or something like that. I think that's like reasonable. Could also bring in the pulverize in case it ends up being like fatigue matchup. Maybe we just fat deck again. I don't know. I don't feel incredibly strongly about this. Let's run it like this, see how it goes. And I have not played this matchup, so forgive me if I make any errors here. All right, now what does this hand want us to do? I feel like it's always just imposing for leyline, but I could see a world where maybe that's wrong. But getting turn 1 leyline out just seems like probably just the strongest thing we can do there. Want to Arsenal Pummel just so we can try to line it up at least, because I think Pummel is one of our more powerful cards generally. I could also see like pitch stacking it being correct. Like maybe we want it like later in the game. But I'm a Pummel enjoyer. Card is pretty good. Okay, they're going to sharpen twice. They're pitching a Beck and Steel, which maybe to me indicates that they're going to try to play another one. That being said, do we have a way to necessarily stop that? Could just like give them a little bit here, but it's not super compelling. I also want to be careful that we're not falling too deep into like what is that card, Provoke or whatever. So we can't really stop the Beck and Steel this turn, but we can at least make it a little more challenging for them to play it, so that they won't get at least the counter on the second swing that they have here. And I think we're just going to take this again. I think they might have it. Okay, they do have the second Beck and Steel, unfortunately, but that's maybe not the worst thing in the world. Like, we get them both kind of out of the way early, I guess, or we get one out of the way early. All right, pretty good opener from our opponent here, but we at least get to follow up with a Seismic into a put them in their place. No Dominate, unfortunately, but if it does hit or connect in any way, then we will make another Seismic, which is also really good. I wonder if maybe we're not supposed to Arsenal Pummel for like the 9 heave cards in the deck as well. Maybe that's why like Pummel is like a slightly worse Arsenal, or maybe like Sink Below is better into Hala, so you can like stop the Beck and Steal effects. When learning a new deck, there's always a lot of exciting things to kind of like relearn. So we have a Command and Conquer. I would try to block this. So they are on. It looks like they're probably on multiple Command and Conquers, so we could even just save the crown for later, which I think is probably going to be the play here, since we already have the 2 discount here. Real question is like, how do we keep the seismics flowing? Because I like want to make sure that this is around. If we try to go for like the put them in their place pummel and we get blown out by like a full block, then this gets really bad for us. We don't have dominate, which is also kind of unfortunate. I think maybe the safe play is to unfortunately just Crown of Providence the pummel away. It feels bad, but like maybe we should just kind of cash it in while we have it. And let's go ahead and kind of get the promising terrain on the field so we can go ahead and tectonic plating here. Maybe just go for like put them in their place again. And then Arsenal this solid ground maybe as a way to kind of play around either the last Beck and Steal or maybe some other nasty on hit they could potentially have. I guess also they don't typically have like too many on hits, but we're still kind of struggling to find the dominate here. So we got a bit of work to do, it feels like. Okay, looks like they're going to block with a stand tall grain. So they take the damage, which means we get the 4th seismic, which is really good. So 4th seismic is very, very good for us here. Oh, birds to the past as well. Okay. So if this has 2 or more counters, the next time this hits this turn, draw a card. And they have the flurry and that as well. I would ideally like to stop the card draw, but I don't know how much we can actually... we can actually block this if we want to. We can just send like a binding here for 10 dominates. God, the problem is also just like making sure that this ley line sticks around, but I guess the promising terrain also pops, so like this is still fine, I think. We're going to be drawing a card anyway, so we should always have the option here to kind of keep the ley line around. And then Testament is at 4 still, so let's go ahead and block with Boots and then the solid ground here and just kind of try to stop the on hit. I think this seems like a reasonable use of our resources here. Okay, we drew the pummel. Doesn't help us just yet, but is not bad for setting up an arsenal this turn. So let's go ahead and play, make another seismic, and then we can just send the binding here for 10. 10 dominate, just kind of, it's kind of like normal boring numbers, but like getting to the normal boring numbers is kind of the fun part. When I say it like that, it actually makes it seem like way less interesting, but oh, you also make another seismic called Sink Below. That's very good for us. Ooh, and a pulverize as well. Huh. I wonder if pulverize even that good in this matchup. It's probably not. And then we have some options here. I mean, I want to try to pummel something at some point, but the opportunity is not necessarily presenting itself. Like, maybe pummel cranial crush is still like fine. Could also play cranial crush, heave, pulverize. No, that doesn't quite work. I feel like the play is maybe just seismic the cranial crush, and then we make a seismic on our turn, pummel the cranial crush, and then arsenal the pulverize. Maybe this pulverize is just bad. Maybe that's what I've settled on. Maybe this card is just like not good in our hand right now, so we block with it. And I don't even think we want to arsenal it necessarily, right? Because it's just like so inefficient. I guess we like could, but it doesn't feel very compelling. But provoke is annoying. This is still fine though. So we give them, I guess, opposing here. Maybe this was like an obvious provoke, but didn't seem like it maybe initially. Now the problem becomes how do we like navigate this hand? Because we can play out the seismic eruption, the cranial crush, but then if they are able to block the cranial crush, then we lose the ley line, which feels really bad. Maybe better here is to just let the seismics go and just like reset here. Could also just like send the Titan's Fist in and then play the seismic eruption this turn. Because this will also, oh, I'm very surprised that they're not actually blocking this. Go back to like 4 seismics here was kind of the thought process. All right, what does Indefensibly Honed say? If it has 3 or more counters when your next attack with this gets, when this is defended by one or more cards, deal 1 damage to the defending hero. Okay. So I don't really care about this. This is just numbers, basically. And numbers are good. And this is only for the next attack. Your next attack with it this turn gets that. Okay. So this is fine. We can maybe like solid ground on the next swing or whatever. Kind of just trade some blows here. But don't think there's any real reason to try to block the first swing here. All right, coming for 7, so we can go ahead and use the solid ground, and then we have, I think, a pretty nice pummel lined up for us this turn. So yeah, no real reason to, I think, give armor here. We'll just go ahead and give them our 0 for 5 here, very clean. And now we can just go, so we can also tech plating here, I believe, right? Because this costs 2, or no, this costs 2, this costs 2, so I guess we are always pitching like the overcrowded or whatever here. Still pretty good though. Making sure we always keep the seismic around is good, and then also making sure we get the pummel in is also quite nice as well. So getting a little bit of a pivot here, putting them through 14, remaking the seismics, and then also getting a discard is great. Rend Flesh, until in a turn, whenever sword hits a hero, may remove counter from it. If they do, they lose 2 life. Okay. Don't think they probably missed that card, but we'll see. As long as they don't have like Flurry Gen here, we're probably in really good shape. And it looks like they do not this turn, just coming in for 6 damage. So we have the Terra Sunders here, which aren't bad, but they aren't amazing. Like, I'm kind of just tempted to just take some value lines or just block 6. Like, I feel like Terra Sunder, when they have like 4 fridge, is like kind of suspect. Like, we could Terra Sunder this boulder drop, but I feel like they can try to block the boulder. If they have like any reaction, they can try to block the boulder drop anyways. So I feel like that's like maybe a little bit of a trap there. And like we can get like 6 value out of it here anyways, like face up. So I feel like it's more reasonable to maybe try to take a line like this. If anything, maybe we could have like Arsenaled or Terra Sunder, but I don't even know how good of an Arsenal this is. Like it seems like it's more of like a late game card, especially specifically in Valda. Like it seems like you're kind of using that in second cycle more, unless you just have like a really nutty hand that you can like Terra Sunder. I don't know, like Terra Sunder Pummel or something like that. This doesn't feel like there's like necessarily like a reason to do it. Kind of curious to see if they actually have a D-React here. Okay, no, just Gleam of the Blade. That's fine. So put them to 7, and they will get a good flurry turn here. So you have 2 seismics up already. And then we want to play the smelting, obviously. Then what else do we do from here? We can like play the promising. No, that doesn't quite work. We'll go ahead and just take a little bit of damage here. I need to look for an opportunity to maybe use my Testament of All High. I think we're playing it a little bit loose this game. Oh, the Ataya is annoying. But I guess in this case, we can just kind of like not bother with it and just like Arsenal to sink this turn. Like there's no real reason to kind of block here. So yeah, I think we'll take 4. We'll go down to 9. And we should still be like in a fine position here. They also have like a lot of D-reactate like burdens and stuff like that. It's very funny seeing that in a Hala deck. Because I tend to think of these more as like the D-react pile more than anything. So like they don't really care about being anti-D-react necessarily. But we'll go ahead and send in 10. 10 is still a pretty good number. And then we also just get to sit on the sink below in Arsenal. And we know it's not getting a tide, which is also pretty sweet. All right, seems like they're just going to give us pretty much full tempo here, getting an Edict of Steel, very nice for us. They do have the 2 Vigors, I guess, so can maybe still do some damage here. And CNC is kind of annoying. Okay. This is like not bad, though. Maybe it is bad. You can like block with Pummel, send Binding. I don't think this is that bad. So our shield is unfortunately like still not online, which is kind of rough. But we can at least keep the tectonic plating train going here. I feel like managing seismics is like the tricky part of this deck. But yeah, the CNCs are really interesting in this deck. Like they do have like a lot of defense reaction hate, so I'm kind of glad that this is not a very defense reaction kind of focused build. Which I feel like Valda tends to not be like as sloppy as I think a lot of other heroes can be. Let's go ahead and maybe just try to sink below one of these disenchantments here. Try to look for something like a little bit more impactful. Boulder Drop's not bad. I think Boulder Drop is fine. So we can play the Boulder Drop, and then we can also like Arsenal the Disenchantment here, like try to get them like block out and maybe try to keep the Seismic Train kind of rolling here. I feel like heaving is important, and maybe it's something I need to be doing a little bit more here, especially try to get through some dominate damage to kind of close out the game. Seems worth it, and then we'll go ahead and heave first before we get the opportunity to kind of lose the ley line here. All right, so do we have a rouse line here? So we rouse the ancients, we reveal Macho and Spinal. We have 2 seismics, so then we get to send in here. I believe that works, right? So this should be good for us. Good damage, at least. We might end up losing the ley line here, but I don't know if we're at the point of the game where maybe that just like doesn't matter at this point. So let's go ahead and start with the rouse. Just try to get some good aggression in. I think this also turns on the ley line, right? It's whenever you deal damage, create a seismic token. So if they let this hit, then we still get to like create the seismic to keep the ley line around. I don't think they can block 17 on this hand, but I guess it's technically possible. It's also the 3rd copy of Burdens. They are very prepared for whatever meta it is that they think is coming. Fair enough. But 10 damage is 10 damage. Very good. So we have full tempo, which is really, really nice for us. Now the question is, do we want to play this Eruption? I don't think we need to, right? No, we do want the Dominate, I think, to try to close out the game. I think because we're in a spot where we just need to like kill them next turn, I think just getting any Dominate is good. And it seems like they maybe see the writing on the wall here as I get a good game in chat. But yeah, basically we send a Disenchantment next turn, and then I think we just like kind of stole the tempo super hard there. So pretty impressive showing, I guess, from the Valda deck. Is like seems like it does a pretty good job, at least into kind of like these like warrior decks, which seem pretty prevalent. And like Reefy would be like, and this deck was kind of crazy, like running so many copies of like Burdens of the Past, Ataya, CNC. I don't know. This deck is like very strange to me. Like I wonder like who hurt this person is maybe a good question, but I think this is like reasonable. Reaction cards get -1/1. Okay, they're on some weird shit. I don't know. All right. Anyways, let's see if we can get one last game against an Aurora. This could be a little bit of a scary matchup, but we'll see how it goes. So I think we just want like AB1 in this matchup probably. I'm kind of eyeing between the head slot or the kind of arm slot here. I feel like maybe it's just the head slot since the Crown of Providence and Balance of Justice don't seem like they're super relevant. Now we could consider overcrowded, but I think we'll just kind of run it as is. So let's go ahead and run the main 16, kind of just see how this feels here. All right, very, very good start here with the Promising Terrain. So we can go ahead and just make some seismics and then just heave this at end step. Seems really good. So heave that in. Might not end up like playing it necessarily. Maybe we will. Because they have the rouse now. Seems like a lot of good aggression. Testament's still not at the full value, but that's also fine. I think I like the idea of just like aiding this Flowing Storm Strike. Giving them a flow is like a little scary, but generally I think most Aurora decks are not very blue heavy, or if they are, they're kind of like doing something that's not very powerful. It's like even though they get a flow here, I don't think it's actually that impactful for us. I kind of want to just like rouse into smithing, just send 17 at them. Seems like it's going to be pretty good here. We could even just like throw Iron Fist in front of something just to get 3 value. Seems a little greedy, but is maybe reasonable here. Also, like, don't have to, though. Maybe save this for, like, a more impactful on hit. Being careful with armor, I feel like, is really important in this deck. And it's something I don't get a lot of practice in as a ranger player. We could have actually even considered maybe blocking with one of these, like, put them in their places, because we do actually get the extra card draw here. So let's go ahead and start, I guess, with the rouse. go ahead and show the 2 put them in their places. I guess the 2 put them in their places like turn on the rouse, so I guess we kind of had to do that. Interesting to think about. But then we can maybe go ahead and just like, I don't actually have to like bother with the smithing necessarily. I would just hit them with a put them in their place just so that we can maybe get even more seismics here. Seems like could be strong. If anything, maybe I should have blocked like a little bit more last turn. Like maybe with just like a random blue or something. Or what was our hand? It was 2 put them in their place, the rouse and the surface shaking. So maybe there's a world where we like block with the surface shaking and gamble and the blue off the top. But it also doesn't seem like all that good necessarily. All right, pretty good discards for us. Lightning Press, Burn Up Shock, Skizzic, and Nimblism all hitting the bin. Seems really solid for us, and we also get 5 Seismics, which is very, very good. I wonder if AB is also like maybe fake in this matchup because we do tend to not run a lot of blues. So I think we're just going to go ahead and eat the arcane damage here so that our Boots of Omnis Ward are also kind of turned on. All right, they will tutor for another Nimblism. That's scary, but should still be fine here. I think we'll go ahead and just take a little bit of damage here. Save our armor for when it matters. Take a little bit of that arcane damage as well. I'm looking to basically block with this like binding at some point. Doesn't have to be now though. I think we just want to like let them connect with the Scar for a Scar maybe here. The only thing we're like really scared of is Lightning Press, which we've always seen one of them, so I don't think we care all that much. So get down to 22 here from the Arc Lightning, and then if they do have like another Scar for a Scar, then we don't actually have to like care about it, which is kind of nice as well. One thing I will say is that it does seem like this smelting is kind of a little bit awkward in Arsenal, but should still be okay here. So now I think that they have 1 card in hand. We can go ahead and start giving like a little bit of armor here. We still have like backups in case they do end up giving us something a little bit stronger on the back, like maybe a snatch or whatever. Okay, and 1 damage here. Could use our boots theoretically and just like tap our hero. But we also maybe just don't care about 2 damage. Maybe this is fine. All right, so go down to 17 here, and then we get to just have a pummel, put them in their place turn. Seems very strong. Not much to think about here, I feel like. And then this will also probably give us a ton of seismics on the back end as well. So we're just going to be chaining Dominate like back to back and also kind of, I don't know if this counts as disruption necessarily. It's kind of disruptive, I guess, depending on what we hit, right? Maybe this kind of constitutes disruption. I don't know. Oh, getting a seismic here is quite nice, though. Oh, Sigil of Suffering, definitely annoying here. But they still are not blocking the Dominate, which is really nice here. So good. I think that's the correct ordering, by the way. We want the pummel to go first, and then we do the random discard. Because then they have like less control over it, I guess, which is interesting. I think we can probably go ahead and just AB a little bit this turn since we have some spare resources. Seems like it's fine. Go ahead and just give them maybe this disenchantment here. I think our goal is to maybe get this smelting out of Arsenal and just like make a seismic set up this final. That seems good. Could also give them the spinal, set this up. No, I think that's worse. Let's go ahead and take 1 here, and then we can just AB a little bit of the Arc Lightning damage. So we get an AB 1 there. Okay, and Flowing Storm Strike to kind of end us off here. So, interesting. I think, so we're going to like Tectonic Plating, make this final, do that. Question is like, do we care about this? Probably not, to be honest, but maybe we just want to like cash in the Valhalla value. I mean, it doesn't seem like they have many on hits in the deck. Maybe we're just like not seeing them also. I mean, it is Aurora, so there's not like a ton we should expect necessarily. But I kind of just want to close the game out with some big dominated damage, I think is our kind of path to victory here. So let's go ahead and make the Seismic, play the Smelting, just get some 10 damage in, and then we can Arsenal the Spinal, maybe try to chain that together next turn. Would like to draw like an Eruption or something would be kind of helpful. Alright, they're going to just cash in the armor. Still have a lot of armor to work with here, so I think we're still in a fine spot. It kind of just depends how crazy these next couple turns are for them. Like if they draw like another Arc Lightning turn, we could be in trouble, but if they draw like a kind of like middling Aurora hand, then maybe we're fine here. Well, Burn Up Shock's definitely good. But I don't think we're going to AB this turn. I think we're just going to try to block whatever it is they send, try to block out the Burn Up Shock. Which it looks like we're going to be able to do here. So the next time an attacking control hits a hero this turn, deal 4 damage to them. So we need to block out both these Scorpio as well as this. So we can go ahead and take the Arcane damage here. And then I think we can block with like Boots of Omnis Ward and just give like 2 cards here. This seems good. And then we can maybe just use the Boots to kind of prevent the Scorpio, which also technically has the Burn Up Shock on hit as well. So it seems very good for us. Alright, we can go ahead and just pass here and activate our Boots. Prevent the Burn Up Shock turn seems really, really strong for us. So let's go ahead and start, I think, by just pitching to Grandeur. And then we can follow up here with a Spinal, which should make their turn pretty hard to navigate. Like they might have to give us like 2 cards here. Seems very good. We also still just have like 4 armor to work with, so I feel pretty safe from most things. Ooh, Double Sigil Suffering is like kind of annoying, but still fine because we get to pay for one of them at least. Alright, so they got us kind of good there. But we're still, I think, kind of on the front foot here. Very much depends, I guess, what they end up drawing into here, but I feel mildly confident at least. Ooh, E-Strike, okay. Draw a card, sure. That will give us the Seismic, which is very relevant for us. Because I think that lets us maybe just keep the binding here and also play out like a Leyline instant speed. Leyline is notably a little late, so maybe we don't even have to bother playing it necessarily. And they've also not played a lightning card just yet. So I think I like the idea of maybe just giving them a little bit of block value here and just kind of sandbagging the sink below. Seems kind of good. I don't think we can maybe bother with playing out the Leyline this game just because it seems maybe like it's a game where it's not going to matter. Like maybe we just want to get the block value in there just so we get our little bit of value, and we don't have to worry about like playing this out just for basically 1 Seismic here. So we still get to send Binding for a bunch here. So this is going to demand a card because they don't have any armor left. They're stuck with a 4-card Aurora hand with Snapdragon, so could be pretty good, but we are also sandbagging the sink below, so I think that we're in like a pretty even board game state here. It kind of depends how crazy this next like Aurora turn cycle is, but we do have our armor at like pretty decent increments. So we have like the Revelation on 2 and then this on 1, so it could block like a Scorpio pretty efficiently. Lots of pretty good things, I think, in our favor here. We just need to make sure that we kind of survive this kind of turn. Maybe even potentially get them to like Titan's Fist range is like another option. Lots of ways I think we can potentially win this game from here. I'd love to see a quick succession block because that means that's going to put them to 1 here. So very good for us. So now we have functionally, what is this, like 18 value or something like that? Something crazy. Ooh, but the last Arc Lightning is definitely pretty good. It might not actually be like that insane, but it's certainly annoying. I think more likely than not, we can actually... Oh, maybe we don't even need to block this here because we have the combo of like Seismic Eruption plus the Solid Ground plus this. So we can like Seismic Eruption to kind of finish the game out with this Boulder Drop, and then maybe play this Solid Ground out as a reaction as well, which is really strong. So yeah, I don't think there's a way we can necessarily lose here, but I'm sure I'll find it if it exists. But I think we're in a really good spot here. maybe like CNC is the way we lose, but like how are they ever running CNC this deck? Maybe they are. Maybe I'm not up to date on my Aurora tech. Oh, Serenade's a good one. Not too bad. So they get their Skizzik, they get their damage. So I think we'll go ahead and just give them the Sink Below here. So they're going to be taking a decent amount of damage from the Arc Lightning, but I think we're still like fine. So go ahead and let that go. Okay, into the second strike. So this is the last card we basically have to block out this turn, so we can combo them with the combo of Seismic Eruption plus Solid Ground. So really, really efficient for us. And then we can just block the Scorpio on hit with our last piece of armor, and then we should be able to close the game out with this Boulder Drop, assuming that they don't get an Arsenal here randomly, which I don't think they can. So let's go ahead and give them Tech Plating here. We still, I guess, even had the Iron Fist Revelation kind of just waiting, so don't think that was particularly close. Maybe it was close. Like, if they had, like, a better hand the next turn hand or something like that, I don't know. Maybe they could have gotten there, but it felt like we had a pretty decent advantage here. I don't know, this deck just seems like value good stuff. Kind of like the Valda appeal. Like, it feels like it's not necessarily, like, the most, and like, interesting Fab deck in that you kind of just, like, have these, like, pretty okay like turn cycles where you're just like sending good damage, but like if you look at like the numbers on this stuff, it's like kind of crazy, right? Like 18 19 18 18 15 19, like this is like if you compare it to Marlin, it's like kind of cracked, right? You basically just get average value of like 18 per turn. It's like kind of insane. So I think this deck is like really cool. It has a lot of good merits. I think that it's definitely kind of on the simpler end in terms of like complexity, so like it's not like the most fun deck to play, at least in my opinion, but I like see the appeal of it. It's very strong. It does like a very powerful thing, and then it like interacts in a really cool way. So, but I think it's cool. I think she's like at least kind of better than a lot of like these more kind of like generic focused kind of like fatigue decks that we know and love, right? But I think she's really cool. All right, so anyways, that is going to wrap up the video today. So again, special thank you to Rob for giving me his Valda list. I promise you I've overcome my fear, and I'm sure that at some point, someday, maybe we will be able to beat this deck with Marlin. Who knows? The world is our oyster, as we say. But it's like a pretty fun deck. Like not super complex, but I think it does have some interesting decision points, and also just kind of like a lot of like setup turns that you kind of have to like navigate to kind of like make the most out of this hero. So I think there's definitely like a lot of complexity here. But it definitely is like something that's maybe like not my play style, but that's okay. But yeah, it's still a really fun deck. Again, shout out to Rob. Go check out his channel if you want to go see more Jarl or Valda content. But yeah, with that, I will go ahead and see y'all later, and thanks for watching. And a special thank you to all the folks who decided it would be a good idea to give us $2 on Patreon. We really appreciate the support, but it's obviously never required.